Stop, don't scroll. You were told you were chosen. And for a season you believed it, you felt the weight of it. But somewhere between the altar and this morning, a question moved in and never left. What if the offer went to someone else? Someone more consistent, more worthy, and yet you are here. Which means something in you refused to let this be the end. Your body knows before your mind admits it. You lie down and something in your chest stays wide open, like a general who cannot leave the war room even in the tent. Sleep arrives late, it leaves early. When the alarm sounds, you are more tired than when you closed your eyes. That is not weakness. That is a watchman who never received the protocol for what to do with the night. Then there are the decisions. You see them clearly, you know the options. But something locks, and you either freeze or you move from pressure rather than clarity. The pattern you diagnosed months ago is still there, wearing different clothes, different context, different people, but the same route. You are not failing from lack of effort. You keep arriving at every intersection already exhausted from the wrong road. You walk through the door, and your house reads you before you speak. Your wife stopped asking how the day went, not because she stopped caring, but because she learned what the answer costs both of you. Your son glances at the screen when you enter. Your granddaughter runs toward you, and you hold her with your arms, but not with your presence. The weight you carry past the threshold was never meant to come inside. Before this is over, I'm going to show you 3 things. First, where you have actually been for the last several months. Not where you think you've been, where you actually were. When I name it, the silence will make sense. Not the general silence, the specific night, the specific decision, the specific moment. Second, I am going to give you 3 words in Hebrew that no one taught you in church. When you hear the third, you will understand why you are watching this today. Third, I'm going to declare 3 names over you, not a generic blessing, an assignment, a commission specific to the intersection you're about to reach. If you leave before the end, you leave without the third name. The third name is the one that changes what happens when you walk out the door. I am not promising this changes your life by tomorrow. I am promising you leave here with something you did not have when you arrived. Hold this as we move forward. A seed placed into ground that is frozen, dark, visibly unchanged. No evidence of movement, no sign of life pressing upward. But it was placed with intention, by hands that knew exactly what it carried and exactly what season was coming. The ground's resistance does not cancel the seed's assignment. It is part of the process that makes the seed capable of what it was called to produce. You have not been fighting badly. You have been fighting without the instrument that was promised to you, the one Solomon left encoded for exactly this day. You have had the faith. You have had the calling. What you have not had is the key that fits the ordinary door, the compass for the specific road of this specific season. That absence is not a spiritual verdict. It is a gap, and gaps have names, and names have remedies. If this is you, and if you have been carrying the weight of a chosen one without the instrument of one, go to the comments now and write, I am here, not as theater, as a decree of positioning, because Solomon left something encoded, a 2-minute key that fits your ordinary day, for the sleep that does not restore, the decisions that will not land, and the weight you carry past the threshold every evening. I will show it to you. Keep it in the back of your mind. If you need to step away before this ends, that instrument is already waiting for you in the pinned comment right below. But I am asking you to stay until the end, because without the context that comes next, the key will not work with the same power in your hand. What is building here is not information, it is positioning. And what I am about to show you is the reason the silence of the last several months was never what you thought it was. But before I take you there, I need you to sit with one question. Not the general version, the specific version that belongs to your particular silence, your particular road, your particular door. Because everything that opens from this point depends on how you receive what is coming. What happens to a seed that no one planted, no one waters, and that insists on growing anyway? You arrived here today because something you did opened a gap, and into that gap a word came. Between the word received in this room and the word fulfilled at the appointed intersection, there is an interval between the promise heard and the moment the road opens beneath your feet. That interval is not silence. It is territory. And the adversary knows that territory better than you do, because he has watched every chosen one stumble through it, not because the decree was revoked, but because they arrived at the ordinary Monday morning, the alarm, the list, the threshold of the house without the key Solomon left encoded for exactly that gap. The offer is in motion. The gap is where it is either received or missed. Solomon was the wisest man who ever lived. And this is not a title in a history book. It is a biblical record, signed by God himself. When he had the chance to ask for anything at all, he did not ask for wealth. He did not ask for long life. He did not ask for the defeat of his enemies. He asked for wisdom, for the instrument of discernment to govern what had been placed in his hands. And God was so moved by the request that he gave the wisdom and everything else alongside it. Solomon judged the dispute of the two mothers when no one else in the kingdom could render a verdict. He wrote 3,000 proverbs. He governed Israel at the highest point that nation ever reached, before or after. The Queen of Sheba traveled months by camel just to test that wisdom. And when she returned, she said that not even half of what she had heard had been told. And Jesus himself, Jesus in person, cited Solomon by name. He did not take that wisdom to the grave. He left it encoded with a surgical precision that crossed 3,000 years without losing a single edge. He left recorded how to stop arriving at every appointed intersection already spent from the wrong road, carrying yesterday's weight into the threshold of tomorrow's offer, so that when the Moed opens, you have the posture of a recipient, not a survivor still fighting the last battle. He left recorded how to cross the threshold of your home already positioned, so that what your wife reads on your face when you walk through the door is not the residue of the street, but the bearing of a man who set the burden down before entering, and your family finally breathes something different when you sit at the table. And he left recorded how to walk with the posture of someone who knows the appointed intersection is already built. So you stop asking counsel from those who cannot see the road, stop deciding in the heat of desperation, and stop waiting to stumble upon what was already marked with your name. Before I name the instrument, move your thumb to the first pinned comment right below. Don't click yet. Just let your gaze reach it and recognize that it's there. Do that now. I gathered this into a guide called The Code of Solomon's Wisdom. It is a written guide in PDF that you read in one sitting of 40 minutes, plus the audio of The Ritual of the Righteous Sleep in MP3 to listen to before you go to sleep, and the written guide of the 7 morning decrees in PDF to open in the first hour of the day. It is in the first pinned comment right below. The union of the wisdom of Proverbs with the principles of peaceful restoration, which move a person out of the state of survival and into the state of clarity and decision. Solomon wrote it. I organized it for the ordinary day you are living right now, in this week that begins tomorrow. Alongside the main guide come 2 companions I placed there because without them the guide would have a gap. The first is the ritual of the righteous sleep. 10 minutes before you go to sleep, guided by what David wrote in Psalm 4-8, I will both lay me down in peace and sleep, for thou, Lord, only makest me dwell in safety. This is not a modern relaxation technique. It is the act of handing over to the guard of the one who does not sleep everything you carried through the day, so that your soul stops keeping watch over what is already in the hands of someone who does not need you awake to defend what is yours. For the one who no longer remembers what it feels like to lie down and have the mind close alongside the eyes, this is the protocol Solomon left for the night before the appointed intersection opens. The second is the awakening of clarity. The 7 morning decrees. 5 minutes after waking, before your phone, before your coffee, before the first message the world tries to write into you. 7 decrees spoken in your own voice, drawn from the wisdom of Proverbs, that position the day before the day positions you. Not positive affirmation, biblical decree in your own voice, the posture of an heir before the calendar, the bills, and the accumulated noise speak first. To begin the day as the one who was called to stand at the appointed intersection, not as the one who was already behind before 8 in the morning. And the value, less than a Starbucks coffee in the afternoon, less than a simple Sunday lunch with your family, less than a tank of gas to drive to church on Sunday. I placed it at this value on purpose, not because it is worth little, It is worth what Solomon left recorded across 3,000 years. I placed it there so that the only obstacle between you and this compass would be your decision to extend your hand. Not price, not schedule, not distance. Only your hand reaching toward the link. And there is a 7-day guarantee. If you open it, use it for a week, and it does not serve you, you send an email and receive every dollar back. And here is the part no one else does. You keep both bonus companions. The ritual of the righteous sleep stays with you. The awakening of clarity, the 7 morning decrees, stays with you, even after the refund. This is not a generous concession. It is the recognition that the risk of testing cannot be yours. The risk is ours. The only risk that remains for you is the risk of not testing. And the risk of not testing is the risk of leaving here with the decree open in heaven and losing it on an ordinary Monday morning for lack of the key. Several people here on this channel in recent weeks have already received this instrument. Fathers, grandparents, people who carry their household on their backs. I have read messages from those who slept through the night for the first time in months. From a husband who sat down at the dinner table and his wife noticed the difference without needing to ask. From a grandmother who managed to pray with her grandchild without the weight of the day crossing the prayer. It is not magic. It is the right tool in the right hand. And while they sleep tonight with their soul handed over, your calendar keeps running. The next night you will lay your head on the pillow with your soul still on alert. That is tonight. Maybe 3 hours from now. The next morning you will wake already running the list, starting the day behind at the very intersection that belongs to you. That is tomorrow. Maybe 6 hours from now. The next time your family receives the weight the street left on you. That is tomorrow evening. Each night without the ritual of the righteous sleep is a night your body will pay for. Each morning without the awakening of clarity, the 7 morning decrees, is a morning the world rewrites before you do. Each day without the code of Solomon's wisdom is a day the house feels it, and you will not notice that they felt it until much later. The cost of delay is not 0, but do not leave now. The ceiling is not finished. What I need to show you next is greater than any key Solomon left recorded. It is the Hebrew name of what is happening to you in this exact moment, the name of the exception that was opened in heaven because of what you did today. And when you hear that name, you will understand why everything until now was preparation for a single word. Stay. What I am about to name is not a list of failures. It is a record of marks, the specific marks that are pressed into the life of someone who has been positioned for an encounter that has not yet opened. These 5 signs do not describe someone who missed the calling. They describe someone who is still inside it, carrying weight they were never designed to carry alone in a season that was always designed to produce something that pressure alone can create. Read carefully. The one who recognizes himself here is not being exposed. He is being identified. The first sign is the sign of the restless crown. You lie down and the room goes quiet, but your mind does not. The silence that should bring rest becomes a chamber where every unresolved decision assembles, every unspoken word lines up, every open account presents itself for review. Sleep arrives late and leaves early. You wake more tired than when you closed your eyes. This is not spiritual weakness. This is not a deficit of faith. This is the posture of a watchman who was given a post but never received the protocol for what to do with the night. What looks like insomnia is a guardian without a handover. The second sign is the sign of the locked gate. You see the decision clearly. You know the options. You have turned it over enough times to know every angle, and still the foot will not move. Or it moves from pressure rather than clarity, and you recognize the pattern only after the damage is already done. The same route, different clothes, different season, different name, but the same locked gate. This is not disobedience. This is not insufficient faith. This is the absence of the key Solomon requested in Gibeon, the instrument of discernment, for reading which gate opens to the appointed intersection and which leads you further from it. The third sign is the sign of the hollow table. You walk through the door and your house reads you before you speak. Your wife stopped asking how the day went, not because she stopped caring, but because she learned what the honest answer costs both of you. Your son glances at the screen when you enter. Your granddaughter runs toward you and you hold her with your arms, but not with your presence, because your presence is still out there, still in the meeting, still on the road. What feels like distance from your family is not coldness. It is the overflow of a man who arrived at the threshold, still carrying everything the street put on him, without the key for setting it down at the door. The fourth sign is the sign of the stolen morning. The alarm sounds and the day does not begin, it attacks. Before your feet touch the floor, the list has already arrived. The deficit speaks first. The weight of yesterday's unfinished business speaks before the voice of the one who was awake all night while you were not. You begin behind, in someone else's agenda, before you have established your own. This is not a discipline problem. This is the absence of a morning decree. The kind Solomon encoded in Proverbs, not as ritual but as strategic positioning. Whoever speaks first into your morning owns your day. Most mornings, it is not you. The fifth sign is the sign of the misread map. You have faith. You have a calling. You have carried this far under weight that would have broken others before the halfway mark. But something feels misaligned, as if you are on the right journey but reading the wrong legend, or reading the right map in the wrong season. The destination has not changed, but you have not received the compass for this particular stretch of the road. What feels like spiritual disorientation is not abandonment. It is the absence of a navigational instrument for the ordinary days that precede the extraordinary intersection. You are not lost. You are in transit, and transit has a name. If you recognize yourself in at least 3 of these 5 signs, if you read one and felt the weight of the specific night it described, go to the comments right now and write this. I carry what no one else carries, not as performance, as declaration. Because what you carry has a name, and naming it out loud is the first act of a man who is done pretending the weight is ordinary. The comment is your first decree. Write it now, then come back, because what comes next is going to give that weight its proper name. Each of these 5 signs is not a wound. It is pressure, applied with precision from a specific direction for a specific purpose. Carbon under pressure does not become a stone, it becomes a diamond. But the process from carbon to diamond does not look like refinement from the outside. It looks like destruction. It looks like burial. It looks like something compressed beyond recovery. What you have been carrying, the restlessness, the locked decisions, the hollow table, the stolen mornings, the misread map, is not evidence of spiritual failure. It is the record of a life being shaped into something that ordinary comfort could never have produced. The pressure was the process. Before I give you the Hebrew name of what you carry, I need you to remember the instrument I mentioned earlier, the 2-minute key Solomon left encoded for the ordinary day. That key does not replace the name you are about to receive. It prepares you to hold the name in the week that comes after this moment. The Monday morning, the alarm, the threshold of the house. First the name, then the instrument. The name tells you who you are in this season. The instrument keeps you walking like someone who knows it. Do not leave before you have both. Stay. There is a word in Hebrew that names exactly what this season is, not the suffering inside it, but the season itself. When I say this word, you are going to understand why the silence of the last several months was never what you thought it was. You're going to understand why the 5 signs you just recognized are not the marks of someone who missed the appointed time, but of someone who is being moved toward it right now, in this hour. I have not told you the most important thing yet. Stay with me. Close your eyes. Breathe deeply. Place your hand on your chest. Feel the weight that is already there. The one you have been carrying since before this video began. The one you brought with you through the door before you sat down. Do not push it away, do not explain it. Just let your hand rest on it, because what I'm about to say is for exactly that weight, not the general version, but the specific weight you know by name, the one you have been carrying through every silence, every locked decision, every morning that began already behind. Your hand is on it. Now hold still. There is a word in Hebrew, 2 syllables, wait on the second. Moed. Most people who have heard this word translate it as appointed time, as if it were a calendar notification, an alarm set in advance. You show up, the meeting happens, you leave. That translation is not wrong. It is just the surface. It is the shell of a word that has a living interior. And if you only ever heard the shell, you received the word without the weight, and what you needed was the weight. Here is what Moed actually holds. The first layer is time. Yes, the exact moment that was separated before the foundation of the world for two realities to converge. Not approximately, exactly. Not when conditions are favorable. When the intersection is built. The second layer is space, because Moed is not only when, it is where. It is the point. The road was constructed. The coordinates were set. You do not search for the Moed. You are being moved toward it right now, in this hour, in this season that has felt like waiting but has never been waiting. The third layer is the most personal. The Moed does not announce itself with a banner. It arrives in the most ordinary state possible, a night in Gibeon, a man exhausted with the weight of a new crown, lying down in a field. And the offer came in the form of a dream. In Gibeon, the Lord appeared to Solomon in a dream by night, and God said, "Ask what I shall give thee." That is 1 Kings 3:5. Read it again slowly. God did not appear at the altar. He appeared at the place of ordinary sleep. The most powerful offer ever extended to a human being was delivered to a man who was too tired to do anything except lay his head down. That is the Moed. That is the delivery system. Now hear this, and do not let it pass through you like an announcement. Let it land. The silence of the last several months is not evidence that the offer moved on. It is evidence that you are inside the interval, the corridor between the promise and the intersection. The Moed is not coming. It is already in motion. God is not waiting for you to become more worthy. He is moving you toward the point He already built. The restlessness in your chest at night, the decisions that will not land, the weight you carry home, none of it is the mark of a man forgotten. All of it is the pressure of a trajectory. You are being positioned, and positioned men do not look like positioned men from the outside. They look like men under weight. From the inside, they are being moved. This season has a name. The season has a name before it has an end. You were not abandoned in the dark. You were planted in it with precision by hands that knew exactly what you carried and exactly what the intersection ahead required of a man who would stand in it. The seed does not know the distance to the surface. It does not know the date of the breaking, but the breaking was always in the design. What you have called silence, heaven calls a corridor. What you have called delay, God calls approach. The word is Moed. And now that you know the name of the season, you will never mistake its pressure for punishment again. This is not just a word. It is a key. When Solomon arrived in Gibeon, he was carrying the same weight you are carrying. The weight of a calling larger than his current capacity, decisions he could not yet make with confidence, and a house that needed more from him than he felt he had. And he did not pray longer. He did not fast harder. He lay down. And in the act of handing his night over to the one who does not sleep, the Moed opened. The offer arrived. What Proverbs encoded for the ordinary day, and what Psalm 4:8 encoded for the ordinary night. That is the instrument he left for the man who arrives at the corridor before the intersection and needs to know how to hold the posture of a recipient, not a survivor. Now that you know the name of what you carry, I need to show you that someone carried this before you, not as a parable, as a record. What happened to that person? The exact sequence, the exact posture, the exact moment the Moed opened is going to change the way you read everything that has happened to you in the last several months. I promised to come back to this. It is now. There was a man who stood at the beginning of the greatest assignment a human being had ever been given, and he felt completely unequal to it. Not because he lacked faith, not because he had been unfaithful. He felt unequal because the weight of what had been placed in his hands was simply larger than anything his experience could have prepared him for. He had the crown. He had the calling. He had the memory of his father's God. But the ordinary morning still arrived with its list, its questions, its locked gates, and its silence. If you have ever stood at the threshold of something that was clearly appointed and felt underprepared for the receiving of it, you are standing where Solomon stood the night he lay down in Gibeon. What most people do not know about Gibeon is that it was not the temple. It was not the sacred site. It was a field, a place of ordinary sleep, in the middle of an ordinary journey. at the end of an ordinary, exhausting day of a man who had just inherited the weight of an entire kingdom. There was no altar protocol, no fast, no all-night prayer meeting. Solomon lay down in the ordinary posture of a man who had given everything he had to the day and had nothing left to do but let the night receive him. And in that exact state of ordinary surrender, the Moed opened, God appeared, the offer came. Not when Solomon was at his strongest, when he was at his most open. And what Solomon asked for in that moment is the thing that most people miss. God said, "Ask what I shall give you." And a man who was king over the wealthiest region of the ancient world, who had access to armies and treasuries and the loyalty of a nation, asked for a key, not for victory, not for safety, not for more time. He asked for the instrument of discernment, a listening heart, capable of distinguishing which road leads to the appointed intersection and which leads further from it. He understood something that most people at the threshold of their MOED do not yet know, that the offer is not the destination. The capacity to receive it rightly is. What happened next was not metaphor. It was record. God gave him the wisdom he asked for, and then gave him everything he did not ask for alongside it. 3,000 proverbs, a nation governed at its highest hour. The dream became a dynasty, the key became a kingdom. But the sequence matters. First the instrument, then the intersection. First the morning decree that positioned his day, first the sleep that restored his capacity to receive, and then, and only then, the fullness of the offer in his hand. The invisible preparation did not precede the appointment by accident. It was the architecture of the appointment itself. If this word has found you today, if you recognize the weight of Gibeon in the sleeplessness of your own nights and the locked decisions of your own mornings, go to the comments right now and press like. Not as a favor to me, every person who carries this weight and does not yet have the name for it is watching this right now on the other side of your screen. Your like is what sends this to them. You are not doing this for an algorithm. You are doing this for the one standing at the same intersection right now who does not yet know the word. The first name I declare over you is this: Keeper of the appointed time. You are not someone who missed the season. You are someone who was designated to stand guard at the intersection until it opens. The weight you have called failure was never failure. It was function. You were placed at this point with intention, by hands that knew exactly what the intersection required of the person who would stand in it. Keeper is not a passive name. It is an assignment of faithfulness to a position most people abandon before the MOED breaks. Keeper of the appointed time means that what you have refused to surrender, the faith you have kept when every visible sign told you the offer went elsewhere, that refusal was not stubbornness. It was the primary qualification for receiving what is already in motion toward you. The one who keeps the appointed time is the one the offer recognizes when it arrives. You have been keeping this. You did not know that was its name. Now you do. The second name I declare over you is this: Bearer of the decree. You do not carry a wish, you do not carry a prayer waiting to be answered. You carry a document signed before the foundation of the world, before you had a name, before you had a single day of performance to present as qualification. Bearer is not a posture of supplication, it is a posture of transport. You are not requesting the decree. You are carrying it to the intersection where it is received. Bearer of the decree means the next time the voice of the deficit speaks first in the morning, the list, the debt, the question of whether you are enough, you do not engage it as an equal. You are carrying something it cannot revoke. The decree was not issued on the condition of your consistency. It was issued before you had the chance to be inconsistent. Your posture shifts. From kneeling in petition to standing in transport. You are the bearer. Walk like it. The third name I declare over you is this: sent ahead of the offer. You were not placed in this moment only to receive. You were placed before the offer, as the advance. What breaks through you on the other side of this MOED is not contained to your household or your generation. You are carrying something forward that will reach people you will never meet, in seasons you will not live to see, through a faithfulness you are exercising right now in this ordinary room, on this ordinary night. Sent ahead of the offer means that the weight you have been carrying was never only personal. The restless nights, the locked decisions, the hollow table, none of it was the mark of a man forgotten by heaven. All of it was the record of a man being moved into a position from which something is sent. You were not placed in this season to endure it. You were sent into it. That is not the same thing. Sent men do not merely survive their season, they accomplish it. Solomon operated in all three of these names simultaneously. He kept the appointed intersection in Gibeon. He bore a decree written into the lineage of David before he drew his first breath. He was sent ahead of a revelation that Proverbs would carry 3,000 years into your room tonight. The same frequency that was active in him when the MOED opened. That is the frequency these three names are now calibrating in you. The receiver was never broken. It has been tuning itself to a signal it could not yet decode. Now it can. But there is something the adversary does not want you to know about these three names. Because when you understand what they authorize, not just who you are, but what you are now permitted to do at the threshold that is already opening, he loses the primary weapon he has used against you in every silence, every locked gate, every morning stolen before it began. That is what comes next. Stay. Now that you know your name, keeper of the appointed time, bearer of the decree, sent ahead of the offer, the rules of the war change. The adversary does not attack an anonymous man. He attacks a positioned one. He was not threatened by your faith when it was abstract. He is threatened by your faith now that it has a name. What comes next is the strategic map you were never handed. 3 moves he makes against every chosen one who gets this far, and 3 weapons Solomon encoded for exactly this moment. Do not lower your guard. This is where most people lose what was just declared over them. The first tactic is comparison. The adversary will look at your calendar and then point to someone else's harvest. He will whisper, "The offer went to someone more ready, more consistent, more capable." You are still waiting while others have already received. The timeline of someone else's MOED becomes the evidence he presents against yours. He does not need you to lose faith in God. He only needs you to believe that the intersection God built was built for a different man. That single thought, that your season is slower, that you fell behind on God's calendar, is enough to make you sit down 3 steps from the appointed point. The weapon against comparison is the decree of singularity. You speak it out loud, not in your head. My appointed intersection was never on their road. My MOED was never on their calendar. Solomon did not receive the offer at the same altar as his father David. He received it in a field, in a dream, in Gibeon, where no one else had received before him. The intersection God builds for you is architecturally unique. It does not run parallel to anyone else's. Every time the adversary places another man's harvest in front of your eyes, you return the gaze to the road you are actually on. That is not denial, that is navigation. The second tactic is the erosion of perception. The adversary cannot silence God, so he fills the space between you and the still small voice with enough noise that you stop trusting what you heard. A small fire at home, a setback at work, a conversation that ends wrong. One piece of bad news layered over another, until the silence before Gibeon no longer feels like a chamber of preparation. It feels like evidence that God did not show up. He does not need you to stop believing. He needs you to reinterpret the silence. That reinterpretation is the weapon, not the noise, the interpretation. The weapon against eroded perception is altar memory. You have a moment, on at least one, when God was unmistakably real in your life. Not a feeling, a fact. A moment with coordinates, where you were, what you carried, what shifted. That moment is legal evidence in the court of heaven. The adversary cannot erase it. He can only distract you from it. When the static gets loud, you do not argue with the static. You return to the altar. The last time he was this silent before delivering, Solomon woke up holding an offer that changed everything. The silence before the MOED is not absence. It is the anteroom. The third tactic is the erosion of persistence. This one is surgical. The adversary does not attack in the middle of the journey. He concentrates his full weight at the final mile. Everything you have been carrying for the last 7 years, every delay, every locked gate, every morning stolen before it started, he stacks it all on you at the threshold of the intersection. His argument is simple. You have been ready for this for years and nothing has happened. Tonight will be no different. He delivers the full weight of the accumulation at the exact moment you are closest to the appointed point. That is not coincidence. That is strategy. The weapon against eroded persistence is last-second resistance, not a sprint, not a surge, a refusal to move. You do not have to run to the intersection, you have to refuse to leave the threshold. The appointed intersection does not negotiate with exhaustion. It arrives on schedule, and it arrives for those who are still standing at the right position. Gideon did not charge when the angel arrived. He was already there, threshing wheat in a winepress, doing the ordinary work of a man who had not quit. The weapon is not new strength, it is continued presence. Stay standing. That is the whole instruction. Subscribe to this channel right now, not as a social gesture, not for a notification badge, as spiritual positioning. What is being built here is not content, it is a frequency. The messages coming in the days ahead are calibrated for the man who is standing at the appointed intersection and needs the map for the territory between the decree and the fulfillment. Subscribe as a receiver who is already aligned. Position yourself for what is coming before it arrives. That is not a request, that is a strategic deployment. Now that you have the map, the 3 tactics named, the 3 weapons in your hand, there is a prayer that needs to be prayed. Not a prayer I will pray over you from a distance, a prayer you pray out loud, with your own voice, with your hands positioned and your chest open, and I am going to lead every word of it. What is spoken in the next few minutes is going to close the gap between the decree declared over you and the ordinary Monday morning, where it either lives or dies. Do not move. Stay exactly where you are. Close your eyes now. Place both hands over your chest. Breathe deeply before we continue. Father, I come to you carrying what I've been carrying for longer than I know how to explain. I am tired in a way that sleep has not reached, a tiredness that lives underneath the day, underneath the decisions, underneath the door of my house. I come to you with the nights I could not close, with the choices I kept getting wrong, with the family that learned to read my face before I spoke and adjusted themselves around my weight. I am not performing brokenness. I am describing the exact condition I walked into this room with. And I am laying it here in front of you, because I no longer have the strength to carry it and pretend it is nothing. I declare that I do not leave this place the same way I arrived. I have heard the name of this season, and it is not abandonment, it is not delay, it is not failure. It is the corridor before the Emoed, the appointed intersection that you built before my name existed. I receive the 3 names that were declared over me today. I'm the keeper of the appointed time. I'm the bearer of the decree. I'm sent ahead of the offer. These are not titles I earned. They are the names you wrote before I had a single day of performance to present. I receive them now, with open hands, as a man who is done fighting under a name that was never his. I saw you on the nights when you lay down and stared at the ceiling, and the tightness arrived before the first thought, before the list, before the worry, before the plan. I saw you lie there with your hands at your sides and your chest still locked, the room quiet, and your soul still in the meeting, still on the road, still somewhere the day had not yet released you from. I was in that room, not watching from a distance, present. The restlessness you called weakness was the watch of a guardian who had never been given the handover protocol. I am giving it to you now. The sleep I give you tonight is not a reward for performance. It is a repositioning for what arrives in the morning. I saw you at the moment of the decision, the one where you waited for clarity, and it did not arrive in time, and the pressure moved your foot before the discernment did. I saw you wake up the next morning with the weight of the error already on your chest, the same weight as the time before, the same root under a different name. That pattern was not evidence of disobedience. It was the record of a man attempting to open the right gate without the key Solomon requested in Gibeon. The gate was never locked against you. You simply had not yet reached for the key I placed in Solomon's hand, and I am placing it in yours now. I saw you at the threshold of your house with your hand on the door, and everything the street put on you still on your back. I saw you walk through carrying it. I saw your wife learn the answer before she asked the question, and learn not to ask. I saw your son glance at the screen. I saw your granddaughter run to your arms and feel that your arms were there, but the rest of you was still out there, still in the thing that had not yet released you. I saw the pain of that in you. the man who wanted to be present and could not locate the instruction for setting the weight down before he crossed the threshold. The weight you carry home was never meant to be carried alone past that door. Tonight you begin to learn to set it down, and you will walk in as the one I sent. You are not the man I am finished with. You are the man I have been moving toward the intersection since before you were born. What you call the silence of the last several months, I call the approach. What you call the delay, I call the positioning of a man who will not stumble through his MOED unprepared. I commissioned you before the weariness. I sent you before the locked gates. I wrote your name before the hollow table existed. You are committed. You are commissioned. You are sent. You are committed. You are commissioned. You are sent. You are committed. You are commissioned. You are sent. Don't say amen yet. Stay here. Feel what is in your chest right now. Not the weight, the other thing underneath the weight. The thing that has been there the whole time, pressing upward, refusing to be buried, insisting on existing even in the darkest stretch of the corridor. That is the seed. You put it in frozen ground months ago, maybe years ago, in a season that gave you no visible evidence it would survive. The ground gave you nothing back, no movement, no sign, no proof that what you planted was still alive, and you stayed. You kept the post. You carried the decree without the certificate of progress. And what you are feeling right now, that specific pressure in your chest that is not grief and is not relief, but is something that does not yet have a word in English, that is the seed breaking the surface. The ground that looked dead was never dead. It was doing what ground does to a seed that was placed with intention. The breaking was always in the design. I will both lay me down in peace and sleep. For thou, Lord, only makest me dwell in safety. Now you may say, Amen. Don't open your eyes yet. Keep your hands on your chest. The seal is fresh. And it's exactly now that the adversary will try his first attack. What was sealed here will be tested at the first Monday morning. When the alarm sounds, when the routine returns, when the voice of the cycle tries to reread what happened tonight as passing emotion from a Sunday evening. The one commissioned without an instrument walks into open territory without what Solomon left encoded for exactly this moment. The exception was opened in heaven. Now it must survive the ordinary day. The code of Solomon's wisdom is in the first pinned comment right below, not as a substitute for what you received in this message, as a companion to defend what was sealed, because a decree without an instrument decays at the first ordinary Monday morning, and the adversary counts on Monday, less than a Starbucks coffee in the afternoon, less than a Saturday afternoon snack, with a 7-day guarantee and both bonus companions that stay with you even if it does not serve you. The risk is ours. The hand is yours. Click now while the decree is still alive in your chest. Not tomorrow, not after the shower, not after talking to someone, because the one who leaves it for later leaves it for never, and the adversary counts on later. That voice whispering right now, you'll see later, decide tomorrow, now is not the time. That voice is not yours. That voice is the voice of the one who lost today in the court of heaven and is trying to recover ground on your Monday morning. He has already counted on later with every other message you received and postponed. He is counting on later now too. This will not be one more. Click before the adversary speaks louder than the decree that has just been sealed over your head. And now, the last word. There is someone in your circle standing at the same appointed intersection right now, carrying the same restless nights, the same locked decisions, the same weight past the threshold of their house. Someone who will lay their head down tonight, not knowing the name of the season they are inside. They will not stop scrolling on their own. They need you to send this to them. That is not sharing a video. That is your first act as the one sent ahead of the offer, and it is intercession. Now close your eyes. 3 breaths. Stay in silence until the video ends. What was done here needs to land. Do not scroll, do not leave, stay.